I feel like death. What's up, YouTube? It's your girl, Michelle. I am so sorry that my video is very late this week. I didn't even film until Wednesday because I've been getting over the gunk and the goo that is my life right now. If you hear a lot of white noise in the background, I'm sorry. That is my AC unit because I live in the dark ages without central air. I'm just kidding. It's honestly not that bad. Texas summers can kind of like destroy window units though, so I'm just hoping that it holds on for this summer. So to give a little bit of a reason of why this video is going up so late, obviously it's because I've been sick. I have been feeling like death warmed over. Okay, maybe not that bad. That might be a little over dramatic. I've had one of those lovely summer colds, which I don't know if y'all feel this way or not, but to me they're just a little bit more miserable than winter colds because of the heat and the just, ew, they're just so nasty. But I have been fighting through it. I'm finally getting better. I still kind of sound stuffy, so again, I'm sorry about that. But I couldn't wait to get this video out. I have been so excited about diving back into the paranormal realm, getting a little bit of a break from demonology and the super pitch black darkness that comes with that. We're just hanging out in the regular darkness today, just the regular old darkness, not the pitch black hell. So shadow people is a topic I see all over YouTube, all over the internet. There are a lot of varieties of shadow people. Most recently I've been seeing this huge craze over the Hat Man, which from what I've read just seems to be a slightly different kind of shadow person. So first off, let's get into what exactly shadow people are. So I found this amazing definition of shadow person on the internet, and I have to read it to you verbatim because it's like so scientific but also ridiculous. So let me just read it to you, okay? So shadow person: the perception of a patch of shadow as a living humanoid figure, particularly as interpreted by believers in the paranormal or supernatural as the presence of a spirit or other entity. Yeah, okay, so obviously a shadow person is something that's shadowy and humanoid-like. Many people all over the world, all throughout the many centuries that we've existed on this planet, have spoken of shadow beings, shadow people, shadow figures, black masses, mists, entities that seem to evolve out of the darkness and exist on their own, separate from it. Now, plenty of people will tell you, oh, you're just seeing things, your eyes are just trying to focus on something that's not there. There's actually a name for this, a scientific name, and I'm probably butchering it, but I'll put it up here for y'all to read and interpret as you wish. Apophenia? Apophenia? I'm not sure, but here's the definition for apophenia: the experience of seeing meaningful patterns or connections in random or meaningless data. Now that can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't necessarily just specify shadows, but think of shadows and patches of darkness, blackness, where your eyes are trying to focus and there's really just nothing there for them to focus on. Apophenia can occur where you start to see movement in the shadows. You start to see patterns forming, shapes taking form. And it could literally all be a psychological phenomenon. Your eyes are trying to focus and create something in a space that literally is practically non-existent. It's literally like you're watching this black void, you know? Another interesting theory about shadow people is that they are literally eye problems, like there's something wrong with your eyes. A lot of people will say that they only are able to see shadow people out of their peripheral vision, and sometimes when you have spots form on your eyeballs and things like that, it can be warning signs and just bad health signs for your eyes. It could be cataracts, it could be, I forget exactly what the word is, but there's some little spots that can form on your eyeball that will cause these blurry patches on your actual eyeball. So it could be that, it could be a medical condition, but it could also mean something a little bit darker with mental health conditions. Apophenia is a beginning sign of schizophrenia. Now, of course, if you randomly see a shadow person, it does not mean that you are schizophrenic, okay? I'm not trying to freak anyone out by saying that, but I'm saying that apophenia itself, and again, I have no idea if I'm saying that word right, is a early on sign of schizophrenia. So I'm just saying that it could be a mental health disorder as well. But at the same time, most people who have seen shadow people do not develop schizophrenia full blown. They do not, start to just see people, hear things, that they don't have the rest of schizophrenia come along, so it can't exactly be explained away as just a mental health thing or just a health issue with your eyes. Now, I won't say most, quite a few people who have seen shadow people or experienced the phenomenon will say that they feel a certain malevolence present with the shadow person. They really believe that shadow people are evil, possibly even demonic, and that they are there to scare you or harm you in some way. I did research a ton of different shadow people stories. Some were supposedly real life stories, some were of course fiction and made up. But there does seem to be a common theme of just having an intention to scare and possibly harm. But most of the stories I read didn't involve any kind of physical touch or physical harm. It was more of like a traumatic experience to see this giant black humanoid thing in the corner of your room creeping up on you, like that would kind of traumatize me too, So here are some common explanations that people will use for the visions of shadow people, right? And the first one being sleep paralysis. So if you've ever experienced sleep paralysis, which I have, and I'm pretty sure I've only experienced it like once, it's very terrifying. It's pretty much where your mind wakes up, like you're pretty much conscious. You might be in a semi-half state, like semi-conscious and semi-unconscious. I don't really know how to explain it, but it feels weird. It feels very weird. And in this state, it's like your mind is coming awake, but your body is still paralyzed in sleep, and you can't move. You literally feel trapped inside of your head. Whenever I experienced sleep paralysis, it was really odd because one of my eyes would not open. So this eye was open, and I was laying on my back on the couch. I had been taking an afternoon nap, and I didn't have any visual hallucinations because I have really bad eyesight anyway, and my vision was kind of out of focus. It's like I couldn't focus on anything, but I was able to like roll this eye around the room. But what was most terrifying about sleep paralysis is not necessarily what you see, but what you feel. It feels like you are being attacked. It feels like there is another presence in the room with you, and you are very vulnerable, and you could possibly be attacked at any minute. That's what sleep paralysis felt like for me. There were some hallucinations, I guess you could call it, more like a dream state slip where I was conscious, but it felt like I was dreaming while awake, where I could have sworn someone or something was breathing on my face. Now, I had a dog at the time, but of course she's like the little couch potato who always slept on her bed all the way across the room, so I knew it wasn't her. I couldn't feel her on me or anything like that breathing in my face, but I could have sworn something was breathing in my face even though I couldn't see anything near me. And it was just really terrifying. But like many people have experienced sleep paralysis and had blatant visual hallucinations, like with shadow people, with like the walls melting, with random balloons, like weird shit, okay? Just really weird shit happening during sleep paralysis. Of course, there's always the slight possibility that someone's doing drugs, someone ate a mushroom they shouldn't have eaten, or smoked something they probably shouldn't have smoked, or done, even with alcohol. Like there have been instances of people having hallucinations even when drinking alcohol. So it's not too far-fetched to say that even if all they were doing was drinking, that they couldn't have seen something. Now, what's interesting is with drug experiences, you'll have a lot of people say that drugs actually open the mind up to what's really there, and you'll have people that say no, drugs actually create things that are not there. They're just hallucinations. They're not harmful at all. Whatever. which side do y'all fall on? Do you think drugs open us up more to what's actually there? Or do you think they just, make weird shit happen to our brains? What's your theory on that? And last but not least, there is sleep deprivation. If you are not sleeping enough, it is super easy to start having hallucinations and seeing things. Your visions start to get fuzzy. If you are deprived of sleep too long, you can actually go into a coma. That's how serious it is when you start to deprive yourself of sleep. That's why it's so important to get sleep. Now, you might not be able to get a full 8 hours every night, that's fine, but sleep is so important. Now, there are other philosophical, theories about what shadow people could be. Of course, there is the theory that they are demonic evil spirits, but there are also the theories out there that they are aliens. That these shadow people are actually how our mind rationalizes and conceives alien beings who are entering our rooms at night. Now, there weren't very many theories like this out there. In fact, most people do not believe that shadow people are aliens. But there were a few select websites that I saw that were very adamant that they were most likely alien creatures that were visiting us at night. Which is absolutely terrifying. I would much rather face a demon down any day of the week than an alien. I don't know why that is, but aliens scare the shit out of me. There's also the theory that shadow people are interdimensional beings. They are time slips. They're dimension slips, for whatever weird moment our dimensions kind of overlap or break through, or something manages to break through, and we're seeing a shadow of another being that is in a parallel universe or dimension. That's kind of interesting to think about. I wouldn't necessarily rule that out. I wouldn't rule any of these theories out. But that was interesting for me to read about, because that is something that I've wondered about. All these sightings of aliens and Bigfoot and even angels and demons. It's like, okay, well, how many dimensions are there really? Now, shadow people became super famous and super hyped up when Heidi Hollis wrote her book, The Secret War. And it was all about shadow people and how they were actually demons, and how it was all part of this war between good versus evil. I think a lot of it had to do with God and demons and things like that. I'm not sure if it was written blatantly from a Christian perspective, but it sounded like it was from the people who were reviewing the book. So it could have been, I don't know. Do I think that all shadow people are demons? No, I do not. Do I think that all shadow people are human spirits? No, I do not. As we've talked about in my Demonology series, demons can manifest themselves in many different ways. So it would make sense for them to manifest as shadow people, but it also makes sense for them to manifest in any kind of way that will get them into your home and your life, and make you pay attention to them. So the one theory I enjoyed the most was that shadow people were Jinn. And I might be butchering the way this is said. The Jinn, or Jinn, or however it's spelled and said, is a Middle Eastern legend. Anyway, it's a creature that is somewhat like a genie. I think the genie itself was kind of modeled after the lore behind this creature. And the Jinn are actually mentioned in the Quran. Found that out. I'll be sharing a verse, or whatever you want to call it, from the Quran in just a second, that speaks exactly about the Jinn. And basically what the Jinn are, they're kind of what I would call daemons instead of demons. And we've talked about the difference between the two. And some people will pronounce both of those terms as just demon. But I prefer to say daemon for one, just because or daimon, just because it helps differentiate and lessen the confusion. So for me, what a daemon is basically a spirit, a non-human spirit, but it's not necessarily evil. It has the potential to be evil, it has the potential to be good, it has the potential to just be completely neutral and not give a fuck what's happening, right? But most lore and legends surrounding the Jinn do portray them as evil, do portray them as more of a demon-like creature that has more potential to harm you than to help you. And even if it does help you, that help is going to come with a price that you're probably not going to be ready to pay. In the Quran, the jinn were supposedly made from smokeless fire, right? I don't really know what the hell that means. I'm just sitting here picturing a flame or something like that. But yeah, all right. So let me read a quick little clip from the Quran mentioning the jinn. And thus we have made for every prophet an enemy, devils from mankind and jinn. Now, this is completely taken out of context. I have not read the whole Quran. I just found this online. So if you have read the Quran and you know more about the contextual evidence behind mentioning the jinn here, please let us know. Comment down below and let us know like what they mean by that. What do they mean by jinn? Do they mean a demonic like creature? Do they mean an actual devil? Or do they does that word just mean something else like an enemy? Supposedly the jinn are shapeshifters, so they can they can shift their shape into multiple different forms. Humanoid would not be that hard to depict, but according to a lot of the lore that I looked up about the jinn, they are unable to 100% fully shift as a human. Like they're not able to completely look human-like. Now this takes us back to the theory about demons, because we've talked about demons on this channel before, and we've mentioned the fact that they have sometimes taken the form of a human spirit, but there's usually something off about it. Maybe they don't have legs, maybe there's something off about their appearance, maybe there's just something that's not quite right. Here we go with the jinn, right? So sometimes the jinn would appear without specific shapes. Like it might be a floating torso-like shape. It might be a shadow. And it could also be wearing some kind of odd clothing like a hat. When I read that, I don't even remember what article that was on, but when I read that, I was very interested and intrigued, because here we go with this huge hat man fad thing, and it's like this shadow person that looks like it's wearing a hat. What if it is a jinn? You know, what if it's a jinn? It's not able to fully form a human-like head, so it forms this hat on top of that. I don't know. Maybe I'm grasping at straws here. It could definitely be that. So according to Islamic and Arabic lore, the jinn have always existed. God created them. They definitely existed longer than mankind. And they are around us 24/7, according to Islamic and Arabic lore. So even right now, as I'm sitting here, and even right now, as you're sitting here watching me, there is jinn all around you. Now, most of them don't take any kind of action into our daily lives. They don't care. They're kind of like on another plane, doing their own thing, right? But every now and then, a jinn gets its interest piqued. Who knows why? Who knows why they do what they do? I don't know. But they have been known to be kind of trickster-ish, kind of demonic and malevolent in some cases, and interactive with humans. Now, there are also some legends and some lore that jinn is a classification of inhuman spirit that is below that of angel and demon. So you'll know that like when you read the Bible and when you read the Quran, when you like look up all these different theologies, there are all sorts of spiritual creatures, spiritual entities that were never human. They're not dead humans by any means. They were never human. They were never necessarily even physical, like in our 3D kind of world. So you have our angels, we have our fallen angels, which are demons, and then we have our jinn. Jinn are something completely different. There's not a whole lot known about them. There's of course the lore and the legend, and most of that does depict them in a more negative light. However, they can be helpful. They can be completely passive. Most of the time it seems like they don't give a fuck about anything. But at the same time, they can be very destructive, just like demons. However, perhaps they're not quite as powerful as demons. I don't know how it works. I don't claim to know anything. If you have studied up on the jinn and know a little bit more about them, please let us know down in the comments below. I'm gonna have to call it quits today, guys. I'm sitting here trying to not cough to death. I love you all. I hope you all are having a great week, a great month, and a great year. Please don't get sick like I have been, because the summer is too beautiful to waste indoors. Other than that, I love you all. Thank you so much for watching the channel. Thank you to all the new subscribers we've gotten. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are kick-ass. I hope you enjoy the videos that you're seeing. If you have any ideas about different topics that you would like to see discussed here, please comment down below. Like the video if you liked the video. Share. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.